Ladies and gentlemen, we were fortunate enough to witness some significant Montreal Canadiens franchise history last night. I got goosebumps. He did it. Carey Price picks up his 315th NHL win, and all of them coming in that beautiful blue, blanc et rouge jersey. I feel so fortunate to exist in a time and space where I've been able to be as passionate as I am about this team, and to be able to witness a record get broken that will likely never be touched again. Carey has 7 years left on his contract. He's already just beaten the record, and he's going to pad this record significantly. The likelihood of another goaltender in the future of the Habs to come anywhere near this record is going to be nearly impossible. Man, such a huge moment. And first and foremost, congratulations to Carey Price himself and of course his family on this significant achievement. And thanks so much for all the hard work you do, not only on the ice to be the best goaltender in the world for us, but for the hard work you do in the Montreal community, as well as your community back home in BC, and the work you do with Canadian Aboriginals. You're a stand-up man, and we are fortunate to have you as our goaltender. It was such a nice moment seeing him, all those post-game interviews after the game, trying to hold back the emotion, but you could tell that moment meant so much to Carey. He now sits at 613 NHL games played. With those 315 wins, he has a 2.47 goals against average and a .918 save percentage on his career. Incredible. And there's a lot more to come. Plenty of elite years left in the tank for Carey Price. Now, some of my favorite moments in Carey Price's career, of course, after Halak has that run to the Eastern Conference Final where he's an absolute wall for us, gets us to the Eastern Conference Final as the 8th seed, beating out favorites Washington and Pittsburgh with Ovi and Crosby. He then gets traded, and Price takes over the role as Montreal's number one goaltender. And in that preseason following that, he struggles out of the gate and gets booed off the ice. Now, at the time, I was very disappointed to see this happening. How could you be helping a player by booing him, especially this early into his start as our starting goaltender? But then after the game, Carey Price's famous quote where he puts the whole fan base and media at ease, puts us back in our place. And he manages to do it in a truthful and honest way, but in no way disrespectful or rude. And his quote of, "Chill, we're not going to win the Stanley Cup in preseason." It was a moment for me where I kind of realized we have a special guy on our hands. And in hindsight, I don't regret any of that happening the way it did. Maybe it was a moment in his career that he channeled that energy, that negative energy from the fans, and used it to propel himself to where he is today. And a big reason why he is where he is today is his ability to handle all that pressure and the constant criticism that he gets playing in a market like Montreal. It's the hardest place to play as a goaltender, and he is now first all time in wins. It's unbelievable. So special. Now, another one of my favorite moments, of course, was his run to the Eastern Conference Final in 2012. He was playing absolutely lights out, and unfortunately, he ends up getting injured. But that was a fun run, and who knows what could have happened if Kreider doesn't run into him. There's a good chance the Habs were going to come close to a cup that year, the way that Carey Price was playing. Unbelievable. And now my all-time favorite moment, and this is kind of specific to me. Last year, despite it being a rough season, I was fortunate enough, and I'm very grateful that I was, to be in the building at the Bell Center for Carey Price's magnificent desperation save against Tampa Bay in early January in overtime. I'm sure you all remember it. It was unbelievable to be there. Palat and Johnson rushing up the ice on a 2-on-1. Palat passes to Johnson. Johnson shoots the puck on Carey Price. He gloves it, but it comes out of his glove. And at this point, Carey is on his ass and out of his crease. There is an empty cage, and the puck drops right into the slot for Palat. He picks it up, and I remember being at the other end of the rink, up in the stands, and all you could see was a yawning cage, completely empty. Palat picks up the puck, and out of nowhere, all I see is Price's pads block that whole area of the net, and then he comes down, cartwheel save, manages to get his foot on it. One of the most unbelievable saves I've seen in my lifetime, and the fact that I was in the building for it was unreal. I've never seen a sports stadium blow up the way the Bell Center did that night. And the chance for him after the game as the first star, absolutely incredible. I'll remember that for the rest of my life. Now, I would also like to share kind of a more personal moment for me as well. My first memory from my childhood ever of hockey. Not specifically but about watching hockey. I was very young. I was about 5 or 6 years old. And last night after the game, I was kind of reminiscing after seeing Carey Price so emotional. I was thinking back about, my memories in hockey, specifically about goaltenders, and this kind of popped into my head, and it means a lot to me. I was 5 or 6 years old, and my grandfather had Parkinson's, and he was living, at this point, he had moved into the Veterans Memorial building at the hospital in Halifax, and he was living there, and he had a private or semi-private room. I was young, I can't remember. And behind his bed, he had a poster of NHL goaltenders up on the wall. And there was a Canadiens goaltender on that poster, and at the time I had no idea who it was. And he was pointing him out to me, and turns out in hindsight it was Jocelyn Thibault. It was around 96 or 97, that's who it was. And my grandfather, Papa, was pointing out this goalie to me, the Habs goalie, out of all the other ones on that poster. He was a diehard, very passionate Habs fan. And at that late stage of Parkinson's that he had a lot of trouble speaking and articulating himself. But at that moment, I knew what he meant. And I believe that that's where my passion for this team and this sport comes from. I knew from that moment forward, I wanted to make my papa proud and follow this team and have that in common with him. Sorry. But yeah, and that's actually why this is my favorite Habs hat that I have. I love it, and I actually wear a Parkinson's Society rose on the hat, and that is for my papa, and he's no longer with us, but I'm confident that somewhere in this vast universe he was able to share that moment with myself and my other family members who loved him dearly. So yeah, that's that, and it just goes to show you what this team means to people, and a lot of the time the love for this team is passed on from generation to generation. And it wasn't too long after that age that I started to follow the team with my own father, watching the playoff runs in the early 2000s against the Bruins, that upset win against them. And that's kind of where it all started for me. And it's just a nice moment. And it's Carey Price breaking that record is really what had that moment come back to me. And I'm truly grateful for that. That's about it, guys. Lots more to come for Carey Price in the future. He still has not gotten that ultimate prize, the Stanley Cup, so it's time to go on a quest and get it. A goalie like Carey Price, I have a hard time seeing a guy like him not getting one. So let's do it, whether it's this year or one coming in the future. If there's a goalie that's going to bring us there, we know who it is. It's Carey Price. Woo! Cheers, guys. Go Habs, go.